up, YouTube? My name is Cerridius, and recently on my Twitch streams, a lot of questions. I have a hand cam right here. A lot of questions are arising about my mouses that I use, because I use Glorious, as you can see, but they're wireless. And here's a Model D. It's wireless. Okay. Sorry. In order to do this, so why I did this, simply because I like tinkering around, like messing around. If you know me from way back in the day, scroll down my YouTube channel, I used to do a lot of car stuff. I love modifying cars, taking them apart and fixing them, and you know, racing them and stuff like that. When I moved to Canada, I don't have one of those stuff anymore right now. So what do I turn to? Tinkering on computers and mouses and stuff like that. So that's the reason why I did this. I did it because it's just a hobby, something to do for fun for me. Would I recommend doing this? If you're like me and it's a hobby, it's something fun doing, and you want to destroy another mouse, yeah, go ahead. So in order to do this, you need to have a Model D or Model O and a G305 that you're going to basically trash. So I already have it taken apart. Now the Model O is quite a bit easier to do because you can just buy. Now shout out to Adrenalines, I'll post the stuff down below. You can just buy or 3D print the base plate, and it's a pretty simple swap. There's just soldering involved and stuff like that, but it's pretty simple. So I already took the screws out, and I will show you. Now you can make these rechargeable, but because of coronavirus and all that stuff, the rechargeable battery that he recommends in his how-to guide is, I ordered it in like February, beginning of February, and it's still not here. So I just went the non-rechargeable route and with the battery. And the G305 lasts a long time anyway, and it's just 2 screws to change it, so it's pretty simple. So this is a G305 PCB onto a Model O base plate. This was 3D printed, so it's a pretty simple swap, right? And the base is flat, so you can put on any mouse feet you want. I put my ceramics on this one, and even the switch works. All there is soldering. That's it. Soldering, if it's a little tough at first if you're not used to it, but it's just simple soldering for this one. And I was able to get this to fit on the back, and everything works. It works awesome. It works great. It didn't work for me at first because I had issues with soldering, but you're still able to, because of the side buttons, I messed them up. But you're able to solder directly onto the back of them. The back of the switches, if you mess up the holes right here, where the original solder points go. So you can solder on the back of them, like I did. You just have to kind of do a little splice. Again, I'll link his write-up down below for the exact instructions. You solder on the bottom of the main switches. These come with these little plates right here, and you mount them to it. Normally they'd screw down, but I messed it up, so it's just kind of glued down. Same thing, you can kind of see it right here, screwed in, but it's also glued down, and has these little clips added in the front. Those are kind of adjusters, but they're not really. You don't really need to touch those. I did use a 3.7 volt LiPo battery, and it did work, but supposedly you're not supposed to use that because these are PCBs rated at 1.5 volts. So I thought about just keeping it in there to be a guinea pig, but I would have to order a separate little micro charger for it to work. And again, that's wrong mouse. And that's why I have this cut out in the front, because I had originally had a micro USB port right there that you could plug in to charge your mouse. Again, I don't have the battery. So the Model O is pretty straightforward. The Model D was not easy because As of right now, there is no 3D printed base plate. So this was kind of learn as you go, and just I made it work with what I had. So it's a little messy because again, it's the first time like prototype and stuff, but I'll show you. So starting with the bottom, I wish manufacturers would do this all the time and have little holes in the feet for you to unscrew them without having to take the feet off. So yeah, there's a cut down there in the honeycomb for the switch, just easy to switch, and then the sensor doesn't really line up with the original hole location, so I had to cut that. It still works perfectly. I did my trials run with this mouse, top 9, and wait till you get inside. I had to actually change the keybind. The only thing that doesn't work, everything works on the previous one, just DPI on this one doesn't work. So I will show you in this one. So let me just go ahead and unplug this real quick. Okay, so we'll start with the top. So the top, for the Model D, or the Model O, you can reuse the little pillars to mount to the side switches. Model D, if I said that right, you can't, because what you have to use is kind of a universal base plate. And my friend printed these out for me and shipped them to me, and I'll show you an example of what they are. They are these things. This is like a universal base plate, so you can put a G305 internals basically in any mouse and make it work. What you do is you just take the inside of your mouse that you want to use and you basically snip everything off and you glue this down. So that was glued down. Biggest issues was getting the sensor straight and getting the scroll wheel to work. The soldering, super simple, super easy, same way. There's no little caps for these to rest in. You just solder them to the base of the PCB. My wiring is better on this one since, the second time doing it. So switches are soldered. I actually have some kale red switches I want to put in here for fun. Later project. Yeah, I'll talk about this in a second. And mounting the battery right on top. Nice and simple. Anyway, so I was playing with this mouse, trials. The big problems I encountered with this is because the Model D is taller, the scroll wheel in the GL305 doesn't sit high enough. I had to unsolder the mouse scroll wheel encoder from the Model D, unsolder the original G305 mouse wheel encoder, and then solder this in to make the thing taller. The mouse wheel sit up higher inside the shell, right? But because of that, it made the middle mouse click button higher. So it didn't rest on top of it and I couldn't click it. So in order for me to make that work, I needed some kind of spacer. By the way, what I used on top was, I don't think I even talked about this. That's chopstick. So let me finish talking about this real quick. So since I was already using chopsticks, I took a drill bit, put a little half circle in there for the scroll wheel to freely scroll on, and these little metal pieces, I probably could have used that instead, I cut to make kind of a little cage for that put in piece of chopsticks so it doesn't fall out, and it's able to click. Scrolls just fine, and it doesn't fall out because once it's on the mouse, the little these pieces right here click the switch, keep it in place. So my mouse is held together by chopsticks. Another thing was a big issue with this was positioning of the switches. Positioning of the switches was very tough. Getting them to line up, I couldn't get them to go forward enough. I had to cut the PCB actually. Right there, I had to cut it to go forward more. Then I had to put little slits for the switches to go forward more. It was a lot of guesswork and a lot of it like, just experimenting and got it to work. This was actually super easy. You just glue them up top, glue the side switches up top, and then I added the chopstick for support. You probably don't really need it, but I did it anyway. They work perfect. They're probably better than before. If you squeeze it hard enough, they will click, but once it's mounted onto the actual base plate, you can't really squeeze it. You have to intentionally squeeze it hard enough to work. I did have to trim down. I did have to trim down one of these pieces right here because it was too tall, so it wasn't clicking the switch. And I added a little bit of foil right here to make that a little taller to work a little better with the switch, give it a little tighter feel, and it took out some looseness. And the way I did this one was better. I would recommend doing it this way, so you don't have to unsolder it. If you do the Model O, I recommend doing your side switches this way with the wires, so you don't have to unsolder the original solders. You just splice, which is super simple. And yeah, the reason I didn't really get super in depth on how to do this is because I don't think a lot of people will be doing this. I think the next mouse, the Model I by Glorious, will probably be wireless. Again, I did this for fun because I wanted a wireless Model D more so. I like the shape of this. But again, I did this for fun because it's just, you know, a fun thing for me to do. Little small hobby on the side. I didn't really do steps on how to do it. Just kind of want to show you guys what's up and how, just kind of overall what I did. If you are super serious about wanting to do this mod, you can message me on my Discord or Twitter, and I can kind of guide you through it if you want a little bit and give you some more in-depth steps and stuff like that. Would I recommend doing this? Like I said, if you like doing this stuff, yes. Model D, I wouldn't recommend because this was quite a bit harder. By the way, the DPI button doesn't work. It doesn't bother me because I play at 1 DPI anyway. I would recommend doing the Model O though. The Model O is super simple to do, and it's pretty much plug and play. You just gotta solder. So a quick little side note, the RGB doesn't work. Not a big deal for me. The mouse looks good with or without it. This is the Model D, showing you guys that it does work. $60,000, 8 misses. I'll never be able to meet my 70,000 score on this. $62,000. I'm not trying to beat my score. That's very hard. I was playing for hours and got lucky RNG with this. I'll show you the Model O. I just need to switch computers with the little dongle because I use the Model O on my stream PC. So here's the D. Here's the O. We're using the O now. Ceramic feet. Super fast. Almost too hard to control a little bit. I'm starting to like stock feet a little more because these ceramics are so fast on my hard mouse pad. Yeah, that was a bad one, but yeah, that's about it. I have a full Glorious setup. Glorious mouses, Glorious mousepad, Glorious wrist rest, Glorious keyboard. I love the Glorious products. I recommend them, and I wish they would sponsor me. If you're watching this, Glorious, hit me up. So I believe that's going to be it. I just wanted to show you guys my mouse. Like I said, if you're serious, you have questions about it with the Model D, you can message me on Discord or Twitter, and I will try and help you with it. Model O is a bit more straightforward. Check the link in the descriptions for where to get the stuff, and again, shout out to the person who made it. He goes by Adrenalines, I believe. And yeah, until next time, Guardians, stay thick.